Learn with me as we take a look at how to create our own font from concept to finalization. Let's do it.
TipTut.
Hello everyone, and welcome to something a little bit different. In this short series, we're going to explore the steps you should take if you're thinking about creating your own font. We'll take you through the whole process from research to finalization. So let's get to it. Now, there's a myriad of ways to make a font, from specific software to Adobe plugins. You could spend a lot of time learning something like Glyph Studio or FontLab, which are both viable options but have a steep learning curve. I actually tried making my font in these softwares, and whilst there's no doubt of their quality, I just couldn't get to grips with the software and I lost interest. Then Fontself happened to reach out to me. Fontself is a plugin for Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop that allows you to use a workflow you already understand and export an OTF font with complete control over all the important factors, such as kerning, leading, baselines, all those sorts of things. Not only this, but if you can make it in Illustrator or Photoshop, you can export it as a font. This means that textures, gradients, photographs, pretty much any tool at your disposal in these softwares can be incorporated into your font, which is incredible. Just look at some of these examples in the book that they sent me. There's some really great work here. I want to reiterate that you do not need Fontself or any specific software to follow along with this tutorial specifically, so don't worry. But I can wholeheartedly and honestly recommend it as a tool for designers. It is fantastic. You'll find a link in the description to pick up a copy if you want, and doing so will help keep this channel alive for a little bit longer as I get a commission from that as well. So at the end of this tutorial, I'll be explaining how to use Fontself to export your font, and hopefully you'll be coming away with a brilliant first font design. Okay, without any further ado, let's do it. Let's make a font. The first step is research. You must decide what type of font you want to make. Is it going to be a display font or a copy font? Serif, sans serif, script? If you don't know what these words mean, I'd recommend you watch my Basics for Beginners typography series before watching this one, so you can familiarize yourself with the terminology first. It's just 3 short videos. Personally, I always loved the font used in the Blade Runner posters, and as display fonts are arguably easier to start with, rather than a font designed for large bodies of text, I decided to go for that. The first step was to find a whole bunch of fonts that I liked the look of, and then add them all to a mood board. Once you've collected some screenshots of the fonts you like, it's time to break down what exactly you like about them. For example, things like split characters, slanted or oblique characters, tapered edges, rounded or chamfered corners, short and wide descenders, cutout elements, combining curved and sharp corners, mono thickness strokes, cutaway segments as an alternative font, reversed bars and arms to suggest an alien nature, open-ended bars, additional decorative serifs, high crossbars, lack of counters. Once you've collected all of the bits you like about your inspiration fonts, it's time to start sketching out your ideas and working on some key characters. Part 2 is sketching and ideation. You should first sketch your ideas loosely, getting a feel for what elements you like and don't like. Try to focus on important repeating elements that could be found in several glyphs. For example, think about the following key anatomy: baseline, ascender and descender height, ascender and descender joins, stems, bowls, or curves. Start by sketching the control letters H, N, O, and Y. You can try both uppercase and lowercase if your font will have both. These letters are considered the easiest to start with, while simultaneously letting you explore key factors like how bowls will look, the inside of the O, joining stems to crossbars with the H, and descenders with lowercase y. After this, we will build up to sketches of other important letters, but first, to make sure your logic is sound, you should do some drafts first of these letters digitally. Move to your computer and open the design software of your choice. I'm using Illustrator. Use a combination of shapes, pen strokes, and the shape builder tool to put together the first drafts of these characters. If you're vaguely happy with the work, congratulations. You'll know your font will be achievable. If you come across any stumbling blocks, like for example, not being able to get your ascenders or descenders right, you know that you just need to explore that on paper more before you first draft digitally. Go back to your sketches and explore a little further. Once you're happy with these letters, you're ready to move on to the next step, adhesion. Part 3 is adhesion, a test word which will help us build our font. Adhesion, or adhesion with a C if you can't quite figure out the S yet, contains characters that have most of the defining elements of our font within the word. Bowls, stems, ascenders, etc. Go to your sketchbook and get to work exploring. This is the same as the previous step, just with more characters. Try to have patience and never erase anything. If you mess up, just start again, but leave your mistakes behind. If you erase them, you might forget what mistake you made, and if it's there as a reminder, you probably won't make it again. Feel free to use grids and any other tools that make you comfortable. If you're working on paper, a good trick to create smooth curves is to hold your pen in place and move the paper rather than the pen. The S might give you some trouble. It's a notoriously tricky character. Just be patient and try wildly different ideas rather than iterative ideas until you settle on something you're happy with. This still needs a lot of work, but it's a good enough starting point. Once you've got the word adhesion down, feel free to explore any other characters that you think might give you trouble, but you'll have plenty of time for that in the next step, building your font in real software. Here I've gone through A through Z and a few marks of punctuation, just so that we've got a complete set of characters. Part 4 is making our font. So the first thing I did was to set up all of my guidelines, background images, and vector layers inside of Illustrator. Just showing you a quick fast forward of me doing the lowercase text here. But what we're going to do is jump right into Illustrator, my complete file, and I'm going to show you what I did with the uppercase character A, and then you can obviously extrapolate that to all of your characters, and then we'll take a look at how we're going to export this with Fontself. Okay, so here we are inside of Illustrator. You can see that I've got my 2 fully complete artboards. I have one artboard with uppercase, lowercase, and some punctuation, and then the same artboard duplicated with the layers in italics, which I think looks much better. Now, this is absolutely in no way a finished font. This is just a first pass. There's some things I definitely want to change, like the arcs on this N and all that sort of stuff. But I think it'd be more beneficial for me to show you how I set this up rather than you to watch me tweaking these sorts of things. So I'm just going to zoom in. What I've got here is 3 layers, a layer which I imported all of my background images on, a layer which I'm going to be drawing my glyphs or characters on, and a third layer which contains a number of guides. Now, guides are really useful because not only do they help you snap to shapes, but Fontself, if you name your guides correctly, will actually use those as specific points to track your baseline, ascender, and descender heights to pinpoint precision across all of your characters, which is obviously incredibly useful for complicated fonts. So making sure that you've got your guides layer selected in your layer palette, just drag down from the top of the window here and release on the ascender, baseline, and the descender. Now you can see that I've also got guides here for cap height and X height. What Fontself will actually do, if you name these correctly, the ascender, baseline, and descender, is it will automatically track that to all of your information. So if I choose this guide here, for example, and rename it descender, when it comes to making my font, that will use that to track all the points of my lowest point of my descender. Same thing for the baseline. And same thing for the sender. Okay, so ignore all those other layers. They're obviously just the guides that I've got set up on all of this here. Now, all I did to simply build this A was I pulled down another guide for my cap height and another one for my X height, which also happens to be the top of the cross point. Fontself won't use these, but they are useful for me. And I grabbed my rectangle tool, like so, with just a black color on the fill. I just dragged myself a rectangle that was roughly the size of the A. Oops, I accidentally chose white there, not black. So let's just make that black. And I'll just make sure by dragging this button down here to the glyphs that I pop that on my glyphs layer rather than on my guides layer. Makes sense. Now, I then went and grabbed my direct point selection tool, the top layer of my glyph here, top corner, and I used that to pull out a soft shape. If you want to see a bit clearer, what you can do is just switch this to a stroke rather than a fill, which then will allow you to do easier selections of cutouts, which again I just did with the rectangle tool. Selected both of my layers here. I'll just lock the other layers so I don't accidentally select them. And then using Pathfinder, I choose minus front, which takes that away from the front there, and the same thing. Now here you can see why having these sketches is really important, because you've already defined the way you want your characters to look. And here you're simply just cutting out the sections you'd like. Make sure you have smart guides on so that you get all of these nice little smart guides that help you during this section. And you can make sure that everything's lined up correctly. Again, I'll just select that individual point, pull that corner around like so. Now that I've pretty much done my shape, I'm just going to turn all these back to fills, select my inner point, my outer point, minus front again. Oh, excuse me. It's because this has got the two shapes in it. So I'll just ungroup that, minus front. There we go. And now we have our finished capital A glyph. Now I'm just going to leave that where it is. And I'll show you using the stuff that I've already made, how you export using Fontself. So the first thing you need to make sure that all of your glyphs is a single group or compound path per glyph. So the easiest way to do that is just to lock your guides and your image layers, go through, select all the shapes in part of a single glyph, just hit Control-G to group all those together. Now, I know that all my capital letters are done, but I don't know that all my lowercase ones are. So I'm just going to go down to this set, which is the set I'm going to be exporting, and I'm just going to group all of these together really quickly with Control-G. And this ensures that when you drag these into Fontself, each individual character is going to be an individual character in the font. Make sure you select all of your extra little bits. Like I've got my separate rectangles here. In fact, I'll just hide that to make it a bit easier to see for you guys. All my little separate rectangles on the fonts here. Making sure to select those before Control-G-ing them into a single font. I think with this font in particular, it looks so much better in italics that I'm just going to export the italics version as my base font. Obviously, if you want different fonts, different font styles within your typeface, like italics or bold or condensed or whatever, you just need to do a duplicate artboard with all of that information on it. Good thing about Fontself is, like I said before, you've already got your workflow sorted out because you're used to working in Illustrator. Now, here's an important step. I'm going to unlock my guides layer so that when I select A to Z with in caps, in uppercase, all of my guides are selected with that. So you can see one guide aligns with the sender, another with the cap height, another with the X height, another with the baseline, and the last with the descender here. Grab all of those, and I'm just going to really accurately line them up because that's the whole point of having guides. They are accurate. Great. So now let's select all of the guides through A to Z in caps. And that's going to select all of those grouped glyphs and our guide layers. Then once you've installed your Fontself, you can go to Window Extensions, Fontself Maker 3.5.2 or whatever version you've got. And it will open up this window. It really is as simple as dragging and dropping with your guidelines into here and then hovering until it says uppercase alphabet, lowercase alphabet, or any character, which is what we'll be using to add our punctuation in a moment. I'm obviously going to do uppercase alphabet A to Z. And it's clever enough to figure it all out for you, which is insane. So here we have A through to Z in capitals, ready to go. Okay, so now that we've got our uppercase selected, we're going to do the exact same thing for lowercase. So I'll just zoom in here, make sure that I can select my guides as well as my individual characters here. And then zooming out, I'm just going to come in and grab all of these letters that I need. A through to Z in lowercase. Now you do these two in batches, and then any specific punctuation you want to add, you add individually. I think it's done this way because a lot of the fonts made in Fontself are used for like decorative purposes, and you may not need all of that punctuation. So we've got descender, baseline, X height, cap height, and ascender. That's all of our shapes there. Okay, in this case then, let's just take our characters and not the guidelines because they're already confirmed by the font. So let's go to A to Z. Boom. A through to Z in lowercase. Fantastic. And you can see a quick live preview that all of these shapes are indeed using the same baseline. So we now would like to import our few pieces of punctuation. I'm going to select my colon. I'm going to type colon in here, and I'm going to create a glyph. You may just hear my cat meowing. I'm going to ignore her for the moment, but she will get plenty of love in a minute. Don't you worry. That's going to add our colon into our list as well at the top. Let's do the same thing now, but for our exclamation mark. So type in a character, hit create glyph. Same thing for our question mark, type in a character, hit create glyph. Same thing for our forward slash, our comma. That was a full stop, excuse me, our comma. And our full stop. And our semicolon. Fantastic. So now you can see that I have specific characters as well as my space, A through Z in capitals, and then A through Z in lowercase. But as you can see from our live preview, probably not the best kerning. No worries there though, because as you can see from these controls, you can individually control letter spacing, line spacing, scale, all sorts of things like that. However, if you want to do this slowly and individually, you can check your advanced metrics box. That opens up every single character that you need and that you have created, and it gives you a left gap, a width of the character, and a right gap, which allows you to adjust individual kernings and things like that. We're, however, going to do it the smart way, which is to click the smart button, which will automatically try and figure out everything based on the shapes that you've put in there. I've had good experiences with this, so let's see what it looks like now. You can already see that it's starting to jump through. And look at that, much better kerning straight away in our live preview. I'm happy with that for now. I want to export this and see what it looks like. So I'm just going to choose save. I'm going to call this one, I haven't thought of a name of it yet. So I'm just going to call it, it was based on Blade Runner. So I'm just going to call it Fake Runner. Let's hit OK, which is going to save that for us. Pop it on our desktop. And as you can see, fakerunner.otf. Let's hit save. Go to our desktop. And next to a profile picture of me, there is fakerunner.otf, which when opened up, you can see our font ready to go. What you got to do is install it. And there you go. You've finished making your first font. Incredibly easy, incredibly easy. I might go back through and change things now. Definitely the E, definitely the H, things like that. But as you can see, the kerning, the tracking, the leading, all that stuff, really easy. And if you do need specifics, you can always go to the advanced menu here and change some of the specific relationships for kernings. But as you can see, the smart thing does a really good job, which is one of the reasons why I think Fontself is well worth the money. And that's my honest opinion. And what happened here was I was looking at buying it, chose not to because I delayed the font tutorial, and they reached out to me and offered me this commission deal. So if you do pick up a copy of Fontself, it will really help me keep TipTut alive because it's helping to pay my bills. And also you'll get access to a really brilliant tool that works flawlessly in both Illustrator and Photoshop. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, consider joining the channel. And hopefully I will see you next time on another episode of TipTut.
Remember to subscribe for more tips, tricks, and tutorials. Thanks for watching.